What's up? I'm Alan, 5 Angels.
I'm Big Small. Bam! And you're watching Cult Elite, baby. Woo!
You're watching Cult of Elite.
The inner circle never effing forgets!
And I am the exalted one.
You couldn't last a day in my shoes!
DMD.
I need my older brother. August 20th, 2021. I'm back. You're the next great wrestling tragedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cult of Elite podcast, your home for everything all elite wrestling. I am your host, Aiden, and we are here for AEW Rampage for September 10th, 2021 review. It was a short, simple, to-the-point show, as Rampage typically is. I do want to remind you guys, if you are listening on a podcast platform, to head over to solo.to/Cult of Elite and join us over here on YouTube for live discussion. And you guys can also hop into the Discord, and you guys can ask questions if you guys don't have a mic, or you guys can hop into a waiting room, join a live call, and ask your questions right then and there. We had a pretty short card, 3 matches if I remember correctly, and about 2 or 3 interviews. So something short, something sweet. Pac versus Andrade. We had Max Caster versus Brian Pillman. We had Britt Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter take on Chris Statlander, Riho, and Ruby Soho. We also had interviews from Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and I believe Darby Allin. Yes, Darby Allin and Sting as well, which we'll get to here in a minute. I do want to remind you guys that this Wednesday, the day that AEW Dynamite takes place, we will be doing our first episode of the Cult Elite discussion. That's where we're going to be talking about news and rumors within AEW, people coming in, people not happy within the company. We got some stuff to talk about there. That's also where we're going to be talking about all the new figure releases that happened at All Out Weekend. That'll be taking place this Wednesday. Stay tuned if you're on YouTube for that live premiere. And if you're on YouTube, again, I remind you, solo.to/Cult of Elite. Go check that out immediately following every episode. They premiere right there. I'm going to do some live calling questions before we hop into the show real quick. Justin asked, what I cannot speak today. What are you most excited for Grand Slam? We really don't have much discussed. I am excited though, because there is talks of someone showing up at Grand Slam. I don't want to discuss who yet. For those of you who don't like rumors, I will discuss that at a later point in time. The discussion review, we will talk about who's rumored right now to be showing up at Grand Slam, getting out of their WB 90 days. I'm excited for that. And then if they pull the trigger on Bryan and Omega for Grand Slam, that will be pretty lit as well. That will definitely make that card feel a lot better. DeSanito asked, do you think Cody will beat Black? I think that's a given. Sadly. I don't want him to. I want Malachi to be like 100-0, number 1 in the rankings for like a year. I don't want to see him lose for a while. But I think it's a given that Cody's going to end the feud and get the win. Sucks. It really does. I think Malachi should have just destroyed all the Nightmare Family, and the Nightmare Family move on. And then maybe 3 or 4 months from now, they revisit it and Cody beats Malachi. Maybe like give it more time than Malachi being like 4-0. Let him go like 25-0, because that'd make Cody have that, bring back that star power. Hold'em says, how much would you love to see a match between Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson? That'd be phenomenal. If they wanted to do a match between them like Grand Slam, I am all for that. Justin asked, with all the new signings happening, what's next? I can tell you who's next. It's not Goldberg, no. I think there's a lot of cool things in line. Of course, we know Lee Moriarty. I can say that because, by the time this will air on podcast platforms, he will have already been signed. That happens tonight on Elevation. That's going to be a phenomenal match. Speaking of Daniel Garcia, if you do not watch Dark or Dark Elevation, I recommend you watch this episode with Garcia and Lee Moriarty. It will introduce you to both of them very well. I can tell you that match is going to be amazing. I don't know what's next. I think we're by January, maybe February, with the rumors of a couple people being out of contract that want to hop over to AEW in January. I'd say about February is going to be when they start calming down, and that's going to be the final roster that they go with. I think once we hit February, you will see less and less surprises that are signees. The surprises you'll see will probably be people from New Japan, probably people from NWA, probably people from Impact, Forbidden Door people. I think around February is when they're really going to go hard on the Forbidden Door people. If they're not using someone, let them go through the Forbidden Door. Let them go to New Japan. Let them go to NWA. Let them go to Impact. Wherever they choose to go, that's probably where you're going to see a lot of that take place. I don't think we're going to see much signings after that unless, people like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns get out of their contracts around that time and choose not to re-sign. And if we're going to be fairly honest about those two, I don't see either of them leaving WWE anytime soon. I think Rollins is a very heavy, WWE is the best product in the world kind of guy. And Roman Reigns is at his peak right now. Now would be a terrible time to leave. He's on his peak of his entire career right now. I can't think of anyone else that might have contracts going up before then. But unless something big happens, they really do another batch of releases or anything, I don't think there's going to be any more major signings to come. Who is next to be All Elite? Well, as of the time of this recording, next person to be All Elite is Lee Moriarty. But there's also a couple people in there, so you never know. All right, waiting room will open. We'll get to that following the review of Rampage. We kick off Rampage with the Bastard Pac taking on Andrade El Idolo in a phenomenal match, just like we knew it would be. Let me get down to the end here. Andrade had Pac knotted up with a double underhook, but Pac escaped and countered with a snap suplex. Pac followed up with a belly-to-belly suplex on El Idolo into the corner turnbuckles. Pac used a crucifix pinning combination, but Andrade escaped. Pac then put him in the brutalizer. Jose, I guess they finally gave the assistant a name. His name's Jose. Jumped up onto the ring apron with a stun gun, a taser. He had a taser. The Lucha Brothers then come down and hit him with a super kick. While the referee was distracted, Chavo ran into the ring and nailed Pac from behind with the iPad. Andrade El Idolo rode onto Pac and pinned him. 1, 2, 3. Andrade El Idolo defeated Pac in a phenomenal match. Very screwy ending. We'll get to that after this real quick. Andrade, Jose, and Chavo are on the stage. Andrade's confused on what happened. He's asking Chavo if he hit him with the iPad. Chavo's all hyper and says, yeah, that was me. And Andrade goes in for a hug, hugs Chavo, and then nails him with a shot to the head. Takes down Chavo. Then the Lucha Brothers toss Chavo into the ring, and Pac locks in the brutalizer. The ending here was very screwy. I think we all know why Andrade turned on Chavo. There's a bit of a mixed communication within the community on if Andrade turned on Chavo, or if Andrade just said, hey, don't ever do that again. Listen to me. Maybe I wanted to do it. Commentary made it seem out like he wanted to end the match himself. There's a very big mixed communication with what really happened in the ending there. But I think it was just a very screwy ending. We all know why he turned on Chavo, if that is true, if that is why he did fully turn on Chavo. It was a really good match. I think this should be, if there was any match that didn't need to put a story aside, it was this match. I think if there's any match where, if you wanted Andrade to turn on Chavo, have him do it backstage, later on in the show, 3 seconds, hey, did you get involved or something? Have Pac kick out of the tablet or something. I don't know. there's a better way to have Andrade get out of this match and turn on Chavo without having to have Chavo get involved, without having to get Jose involved and the Lucha Brothers. Because honestly, this should have been a match that went straight to a finish. Whether it was the armbar, whether it was the DDT, whatever. I think the finish was great. Andrade really should have won, and I'm happy he did. But it definitely should have been a perfect finish, 1, 2, 3, not a screwy finish. But either way, phenomenal match from both men. Following that, we had Tony Schiavone in the ring with Darby Allin and Sting, who wanted to address Tully Blanchard's comments. Darby Allin says, Tully Blanchard, do you want to say Sting is riding my coattails? Sean Spears, listen to me, you generic piece of trash. Without Tully, you are absolutely nothing. Sting then gets the mic and says, Tully, didn't you ride the tails of Slick Rick for many, many years? What about Arn Anderson? And if you want to look at me eye to eye, why wait? Let's do this right here in Cincy. Come on, Tully. Tully Blanchard walks out onto the ramp, looks at the two-on-one. That's what you want. You've always liked the numbers game, haven't you, Sting? Talk about riding coattails. That never happened. Be a little more aware, says Tully, as Sean Spears quietly took out Darby Allin from behind, driving him into the mat with a C4 on the floor and then running away. Tully then says, be a little bit more aware of your guys getting taken down. Sting hopped out of the ring and went looking for Spears, who had already run off through the crowd. Tully then says, way to go, Sean, just like we planned. So yeah, it looks like, sadly, depressingly, we are going to get Tully Blanchard versus Sean Spears, or Tully Blanchard versus Sting on an episode of Dynamite or Rampage at some point in time, and I don't know how to feel about it. It is very, very sad. I really don't want to see these two old men go at it. But either way, this segment was good. Darby's one-liner was really good. I like Spears coming in to attack him, build some last-minute story before their match on Dynamite takes place. But yeah, I think it could have been done any other way. Like, I think the fact that we're resorting to this, but I feel like knowing AEW, knowing Tony Khan, knowing the Young Bucks, knowing Kenny Omega, I feel like that this match isn't going to happen. I feel like somehow, some way, they're going to say, hey, Sting and Tully Blanchard is taking place on Dynamite. We get to the match, Sting comes out, and he just gets jumped. Gets jumped by the Pinnacle or something. Something that happens to where he is not able to make it and isn't able to compete in the match. I think that's what's going to go down, and I think that's probably what's next for Sting and Darby as well. I know commands aren't working in chat right now. I'm trying to get it figured out. I don't know why. I have no clue why the bot isn't working. I have to fix the OBS title, but I'll do that after the show. We then get a video montage from Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson's debut, including a couple comments from each. This was a funny line right here. Adam Cole is the first one up, and he says, "The Elite as a faction, but as I like to call it, a brotherhood. It is incredibly special. The Elite was designed as a bunch of very individual talent, professional wrestlers coming together to show how powerful we really are. I trust Kenny Omega with my life. He trusts me. I trust the Young Bucks with my life, and they trust me." Man, I kind of shrugged that off at first, but then when I reread it and I reheard the promo, God, that was a phenomenal line. Christian and Bryan Danielson, they're special. They're the reason that people look at them so highly. There's a reason people respect them so much, because their body of work is undeniable. The difference is they think they're going to be able to keep up with guys like me. I can promise you I'm not even in my prime yet. I will wipe the floor with Bryan Danielson, said Adam Cole. Danielson says, the way that all the Elite act and dress sounds to me like people who are insecure. So I'm not exactly going after all of the Elite. I'm going after one member of the Elite. I've heard how great Kenny Omega is, and I've seen how great Kenny Omega is. The reality is I'm just excited to get into the ring and wrestle. I'd love for it to be Kenny Omega. I'd love for Kenny Omega to be my first match. If he doesn't want to step up, there'll be someone else. Because one of the things I love about AEW is everyone is hungry. Everyone wants to prove themselves. I'm here. I'm game. Let's go. Amazing promo from both men. Both men did really well in that promo. Both got over. And both did everything they needed to do. And I honestly agree with Brian. I'd love for Kenny Omega to be his first opponent. Let me know in the chat. Who do you guys think? If you're on a podcast platform or you're rewatching this after, just tag us on Twitter at Cult of Elite. Let me know who you think Brian Danielson's first opponent would be. And if you do think it is going to be Kenny Omega, who do you think would win that match? That's my interest right there. Following that, we had Dr. Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel taking on Chris Statlander, Riho, and the 2021 Casino Battle Royal winner, Ruby Soho. Hayter railed back and planted Chris Statlander with a backbreaker. Rebel tagged in, and she and Hayter tried for a double suplex on Statlander. Statlander countered with a double suplex on Rebel and Hayter. Britt Baker entered the fray, but was quickly dispatched by Chris Statlander. Rebel threw her body on top of Baker to act as a human shield. Riho jumped off of the shoulders of Chris Statlander with a double foot stomp on her Rebel and Dr. Britt Baker before Riho would jump up and dive onto Jamie Hayter. Soho tagged in and rocked Rebel with a Pele kick and pinned her 1, 2, 3. Rebel took the pin just as she needed to. I think that's a perfect way to do it. Rebel didn't need to get the pin. Baker didn't need to be pinned. Jamie Hayter's been pinned enough for Britt Baker. It was about time Rebel got in there and took that pin. Phenomenal match, though. It really was a time killer for me, but it was a phenomenal match. By time killer, I mean they really left the main event with like 4 minutes to spare. But those 6 women killed it, and if you haven't seen that match, I definitely recommend it. I'm going to read the chat before we get to the main event here. It's killing the rankings, in my opinion, if you face Kenny Omega right away. No, not really. The AEW Championship hasn't even been brought up in the storyline at all, which means Brian doesn't even want the title. He just wants to face Kenny Omega, which, I mean, that's not killing the rankings at all. If they were trying to build Brian and Kenny for the AEW Championship, yeah, that would bypass the point of the title. That'd bypass the point of the rankings. But the title has not been brought up at any of the promos from my memory. Has not been talked about, discussed. He just wants to fight Kenny Omega. So if it happens, it would just be a normal singles match. Following that, we get to the main event with the Acclaim's Max Caster taking on Brian Pillman Jr. Caster tried to hit him with the mic drop elbow off the top rope, but Pillman dodged it. Pillman springboarded off the top ropes with a clothesline and pinned Caster. That springboard clothesline was just enough to end the match, and Brian Pillman would get the win using his father's famous, why can't I think of it, clothesline. After the match, Bowens blindsided Pillman. The Acclaim began to double-team Pillman. Bowens impaled Pillman with a DDT before Jon Moxley ran out to even out the odds. He rocked Bowens with a boombox shot to the head. Pillman connected with a thrust kick to Caster, who was sent into the waiting arms of Jon Moxley. Mox finished off Caster with the paradigm shift, and we closed out the show with the 2 Cincinnati boys, Brian Pillman Jr. and Jon Moxley. Man, I mean, it was a great way. It was a great way to get the Cincinnati boys to end the show. I know after the match they wanted to do that. They had them do the send them home happy promo. I'm happy they did that, and I'm happy they ended They kind of make hometowns kind of feel special to the wrestlers, you know, with Pillman and Moxley both being on the card and also ending the shows both times. They really try and make it feel special. That's cool for them. I still think this should have kicked off, and then they should have had Moxley and Pillman come out after the show to do the go home promo, instead of having to get involved on actual TV. Because I feel like Pac and Andrade just should have been the main event. I know they like to kick off their shows with a boom, but I feel like you got to end your shows with a boom. That's the match everyone wanted to see. And there wasn't another match on the card that was kind of like, oh, I can't wait to see that. Like, yeah, the 6-man tag didn't even seem interesting and cool at first. It didn't seem interesting at first. Why? I can't really speak today. But I think Pac and Andrade definitely should have ended that show. Chris has to be getting another title shot soon. Probably not. I mean, maybe. but I kind of doubt it at the exact same time. I think they just used her to even out the odds with Riho and Statlander being by the side of Soho. So I think it's a given we're going to get Soho versus Baker at Grand Slam. If they really want to build up that card, I think that's probably what they're going to do. And I think that right around that time will be when Statlander moves on, goes back to doing some dark stuff, getting a couple more wins. And then I don't know what's next for Chris Statlander. But that's going to do it for the review here today. I remind you, if you have not already, make sure you hop over on other platforms at solo.to/Call of Elite. You can join the Discord. You can subscribe on the YouTube channel to come visit live. And again, I remind the YouTube audience, this Wednesday, Call of Elite discussions. We will be live and talking about everything, news, rumors, and anything. We're just really chilling out with you guys in voice chat and talking. We'll be talking about the new figures and everything along that line. You can follow us on all social media at Call of Elite and join the cult.